Welcome to the D-Dive. We cut through the noise, get you straight to the insights. And today, we're jumping straight into the world of Jurassic World, Rebirth. You know, the latest big dinosaur installment hit theaters July 2nd, 2025. So our mission today, like always, is to take this big pile of sources. We got everything from sharp critic reviews to, what fans are saying online, and just boil it down for you. We want to give you a really solid picture of what worked, what maybe didn't land so well, and why it all matters. Get you informed fast. Okay, so just to set the scene quickly, Gareth Edwards directed this one, script by David Cupp. He's a franchise veteran, right?
Back from the original Jurassic Park.
Exactly. And it picks up, 5 years after Dominion?
Yeah, that's the timeline.
The basic story is this expedition, they're trying to harvest dinosaur DNA for a heart disease cure, apparently.
Mm-hmm. A bit of a MacGuffin there.
Kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
And this is all happening while the dinosaurs are stuck on these islands, sort of drifting towards extinction again.
Yeah. Isolated breeding, basically facing ecological oblivion is the phrase used.
Okay. So let's dig in. What did the sources say was the big win for Rebirth? The dinosaurs themselves, presumably. Did it deliver on that core promise?
Oh, absolutely. That seemed to be the one thing almost everyone agreed on. The sources we looked at pretty much raving about the visuals, the spectacle. Critics kept highlighting how it reignites that primal thrill, dinosaurs chasing people, classic stuff, but done really well here, apparently.
Any specific moments that stood out?
Yeah, a few got mentioned a lot. There was this majestic scene with two titanosaurs sort of entwined, and they used the John Williams theme. Pure wonder, people said.
Oh, nice. Gotta have that theme.
Right. And then the action set pieces. The river rafting T-Rex attack was a big one.
Okay.
Gareth Edwards really channeling that Spielberg Jaws-style tension, according to reviewers, made it feel properly suspenseful.
I can imagine. Like the original Jurassic Park river scene, maybe?
Yeah. Sort of echoes of that, yeah. Plus, new dinos, like the Quetzalcoatlus, the huge flying ones. They added to the visual feast. Honestly, nearly every review mentioned stunning visuals or great action, real awe generated there.
Sounds like they definitely nailed the core expectation for a Jurassic movie then. What about the fan reaction to the look of it? Do they buy into the visuals too?
Yeah, interestingly, the audience stuff we saw on Reddit and forums really echoed that. People were pointing out the vibrant, colorful dinosaur redesigns. Lots of comments about authentic musculature, things like T-Rex looks muscular, and just generally saying the CGI is better than Dominion.
Okay, so a step up visually from the last one.
Seems to be the consensus. It really connects back to that idea the filmmakers apparently had, making dinosaurs the true stars again, and on that front, yeah, seems like mission accomplished.
Right. So visuals, definite home run. But it sounds like things got a bit shakier when the focus shifted away from the dinos to the human element. I saw this kind of weird contrast mentioned, the actors were doing good work, but the characters themselves, maybe not so much.
That's a very common thread, yeah.
Scarlett Johansson as Zora Bennett, sources called her performance grounded, sharp.
Yeah.
But then Christy Lemire kind of joked about her just looking like Scarlett Johansson on a boat.
Yeah, suggesting maybe the role itself was a bit thin despite the performance.
Exactly. And Mahershala Ali, as Duncan Kincaid people said, he added depth, especially in quiet moments. That camaraderie with Zora.
Mm-hmm. He's always great.
Jonathan Bailey, Dr. Loomis praised for technical gravitas, and his casting was noted as significant too, right? One of the first openly gay actors in a lead blockbuster role like this.
That was definitely highlighted, yeah. A positive point for representation.
And then David A. Icano as Xavier, the annoying kid. Sounds like he actually brought some unexpected charm, even if the character was written to be irritating. His survival added levity.
Yeah, every Jurassic movie needs that character, right? The one you kind of root against, but also maybe root for a little.
Totally. But, okay, so good actors, but what was the actual issue with the characters, according to the critics?
Well, zooming out, yeah, the critical consensus really hit on the superficial treatment of characters. That came up again and again. Our sources basically said the main mercenaries, Johansson and Ali, they're just underwritten, defined more by surface tension than real depth.
Right. So you've got these great actors, but not much for them to chew on script-wise.
Pretty much. And then there's the secondary family storyline, Manuel Garcia Rulfo, his daughter's Xavier.
The ones who felt tacked on.
Exactly. Critics said their scenes interrupt the pacing and ultimately don't add much narrative payoff. Christy Lemire, again, she called the cast bloated and said it ground the pacing to a halt whenever that family was on screen.
Oof. That's rough. So it kind of sounds like the human drama just wasn't serving the main dinosaur plot effectively.
That's the feeling you get from the reviews, yeah. Like the spectacle was the priority, and the human side felt a bit like an afterthought, maybe rushed.
Okay, so great spectacle, iffy human story.
Yeah.
What about the overall narrative? Did Rebirth feel fresh, or did it lean on familiar territory? Because I saw criticisms about that too.
Yeah, that's the other major area where it seemed to stumble for some. The lack of narrative novelty, basically.
How so?
Well, descriptions like video game style mission beats came up, like 3D dino hunts, a very formulaic structure.
Right, kicking boxes almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And there was mention of a slow, exposition-heavy first half, lots of clunky dialogue, and maybe too much backstory trying to get crammed in, stalling the momentum early on.
And even some of the dinosaur stuff wasn't immune. I saw mention of the hybrid, the Distortus Rex.
Yeah, some critics felt that one, and maybe a few other visuals seemed a bit generic or maybe overly CGI driven, not quite hitting the mark like the main dinosaurs did.
Interesting. What about the tone? You mentioned tonal inconsistencies earlier.
Ah, yes. That was quite striking in the commentary. Critics noted this clear tonal shift. Sometimes within the same scene, you'd get these like self-aware salary jokes bumping up against serious moments, or really obvious blockbuster moments, the I want to buy that popcorn bucket kind of thing.
Okay.
And even some meta nods to franchise mundanity, almost like the movie knew it was part of a long series.
So winking at the audience a bit.
Yeah, but maybe not always successfully. And then you have all the narrative callbacks, which, I mean, fans of the series would recognize instantly. Stuff from Lost World, Fallen Kingdom, Dominion.
Like what?
Convenience store chases, the standard corporate villains, those kinds of over-the-top stunts, familiar tropes.
So playing the hits, essentially.
Putting the hits, exactly. But some reviewers felt it went too far, veering into parody territory. That feeling of, why stop and think if they should? Just keep the action coming.
Right. Less Jeff Goldblum, more Chris Pratt, maybe, in terms of philosophy.
You could put it that way, yeah. Leaning more into the world aspect than the park, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense. So beyond the spectacle and these criticisms about predictability and tone, did the film try to say anything deeper? Were there themes lurking beneath the surface, like that whole DNA for a cure thing, that inherently raises ethical questions, right? Sure. Should humans exploit these creatures, even for medicine?
It definitely puts that question on the table, yeah. Those basic ethical dilemmas are present.
And I saw mentions of climate themes, too, the dinosaurs being isolated because of ecological collapse.
It hints at those deeper environmental overtones. The islands as refuges in a world struggling ecologically. It adds a layer, definitely.
But how well were these themes explored, according to the sources?
Well, that's the thing. They're there, but maybe lightly sketched. The consensus seemed to be the film walks a fine line between homage and pastiche, like the nods to Jaws, the T-Rex footfalls, the classic set pieces. They're clearly meant to, rekindle that original wonder, tap into the nostalgia.
That fans probably appreciate.
For sure. But then countering that, you have the film sort of showing its awareness of being a blockbuster. Those payroll jokes, the salary stuff. It suggests this kind of meta-franchise fatigue almost.
So it's like it's caught between trying to be a serious adventure with themes and just being a fun, self-aware ride.
That's a good way to put it. It doesn't seem to fully commit to one or the other, leading to that tonal inconsistency people mentioned.
Okay, so pulling it all together then, the final verdict, what was the overall reception like? It's pretty mixed.
Definitely mixed, yeah. Leaning perhaps slightly positive overall, but with strong caveats.
Like AP News gave it 3.5 out of 4, right? Praised the visuals, the references, some fresh twists.
Correct. And Time magazine really liked the focus shift, saying it was about making dinosaurs the true stars again. A positive spin.
But then you had the other side. The Verge, Houston Chronicle, an Australian outlet, calling it formulaic, overstuffed, lacking depth. Pretty standard blockbuster complaints, I guess.
Very much so. And the fan reactions seem to mirror that a bit. Online, lots of cheering for the visuals. T-Rex looks muscular. CGI is better than Dominion. Clear enthusiasm there.
Right.
But even just based on the trailers, impressions were divided. Some were hyped for the Titanosaurs. Others heard the dialogue and thought, oh no, more generic lines.
Okay, so it really depends on what you're looking for. Who would really enjoy this movie based on all that?
Well, the sources suggest if you're just craving that big, loud, dinosaur-packed summer movie experience, visceral thrills, you'll probably have a good time. Or if you're maybe new to the franchise, just want cool visuals without needing tons of backstory. Or, yeah, if you like a bit of light environmental commentary mixed in with your action.
Basically, if you're there for the dinosaurs first and foremost.
Exactly. Prioritize the spectacle, and you're likely in good shape.
And who might leave disappointed?
Probably viewers hoping for, deeper character arcs, real emotional connection. That seems to be lacking. Also, if you're just tired of franchise tropes, predictable plots, this might feel like more of the same. And maybe the purists, the ones who prefer more grounded dinosaurs over flashy hybrids like the Distortus Rex.
Gotcha. So the final word, synthesizing all those sources.
I think the most accurate summary is that Jurassic World. Rebirth offers a really mixed cinematic experience. You get the dazzling dinosaur spectacle, absolutely, but you also get kind of middling human drama. It's described as competent, even sometimes thrilling, but that narrative and emotional core just feels underpowered.
So for the diehard fans.
For them, it might feel like a welcome return to form after maybe being disappointed by Dominion, more focused on the dinos.
But for others,
especially those looking for something with more cinematic substance, it could easily feel like empty-calorie crowd-pleasing. Fun, but forgettable.
Right. Okay, well, that wraps up our deep dive into Jurassic World. Rebirth, a film that clearly delivers amazing dinosaurs, but kind of fumbles the human side and maybe gets caught up in its own franchise awareness. We hope digging through all this with us has given you a clearer picture of why the reactions were so varied, beyond just a simple thumbs up or thumbs down, a shortcut to understanding the buzz. And maybe something to think about as you leave us. When you look at a film like Rebirth, where the visuals are undeniably a triumph, but the story, the characters, they kind of stumble. What does that really tell us about where big blockbusters are heading? And maybe how much do our own expectations shape, whether we walk away satisfied by just the pure spectacle, or if we still find ourselves craving something deeper, something more resonant in the story, just something to ponder.